If you've been gardening for a while, you've probably felt that little sting at the checkout line when you're loading up on bag after bag of soil. It adds up fast, and the wild part, you're often paying for something you could be making at home, better, richer, and more alive. Here at Rootshaven Grounds, we're all about working smarter with what we already have. Today, I want to show you how one simple waste layer in your raised beds can create soil that keeps building itself year after year. Once you understand this, buying bags of soil will feel like paying for bottled rainwater while standing in a storm. Let's dig in. The big secret: soil is built from the bottom up. Most gardeners focus only on what goes on top of the bed: compost, topsoil, mulch. That's important, yes, but the real magic happens underneath, where you don't usually look. You know, in nature, soil isn't delivered in plastic bags. Forest floors actually build soil from fallen logs, dead roots, leaves, and all sorts of organic debris that slowly break down over time. Microbes, fungi, insects, and worms, they all work together to turn that so-called waste into dark, crumbly, nutrient-rich earth. When we copy this natural system in a raised bed, we end up creating a self-feeding soil engine, and honestly, it starts with one powerful layer that most people just throw away. The waste layer that changes everything, well, that's woody organic material. We're talking about things like small branches, twigs, prunings, dry stalks, corn cobs, shredded cardboard, and even partially rotted wood. These materials are, the secret to building better soil. Instead of hauling this stuff away or burning it, you lay it at the bottom of your raised bed before adding soil on top. This method is inspired by hugelkultur, a traditional European technique that builds long-lasting fertile beds. This so-called waste becomes a slow-release nutrient bank and a moisture sponge that keeps feeding your plants for years. How this layer creates infinite soil. Nothing in gardening is truly infinite, but this comes close because the soil keeps improving instead of running out. First, the woody layer slowly decomposes. Fungi move in early, breaking down tough fibers like lignin and cellulose. Then, bacteria join the party. As these microbes feed, they produce nutrients in plant-available forms. Second, earthworms are drawn to this zone like it's an underground buffet. They pull organic matter down, mix it with soil, and leave behind castings. Honestly, one of the richest natural fertilizers you can get. Third, as the wood breaks down, it turns into humus. Humus is the stable, dark organic matter that gives soil its structure, nutrient-holding capacity, and life-supporting power. The more humus you have, the more your soil can, feed itself. So, instead of soil getting tired over time, your bed actually becomes richer each season. Moisture magic, folks. Your bed becomes a water reservoir. One of the most underrated benefits of this waste layer is, honestly, water management. Wood acts like a sponge. During rains or watering, it absorbs moisture. Then during those hot, dry spells, it slowly releases that moisture back into the soil above. So, this means your plants experience fewer extreme dry swings, their roots grow deeper and stronger, and honestly, you end up watering a lot less often. In hot climates or during those dry seasons, this can really be the difference between stressed plants and, thriving ones. Your raised bed stops behaving like just a shallow container and starts acting a lot more like natural ground. How to build this layer the right way? Let's talk practical steps because, this only works well when it's done properly. Start with an empty raised bed or, one you're building fresh. At the very bottom, place your chunky organic material. Use small branches, pruned stems, dry sunflower stalks, or broken down pieces of untreated wood. Just make sure to avoid painted, treated, or chemically processed wood. Fill about the bottom third of the bed with this material. Don't pack it tightly, leave air pockets so microbes and fungi can move in. On top of that, add a layer of softer organic matter. This could be leaves, grass clippings, kitchen scraps that are plant-based, or even partially finished compost. This layer helps balance the carbon-rich wood with nitrogen, which, really speeds up decomposition. Then add your main growing layer, a mix of garden soil, compost, and aged manure if you have it, and finally, just top everything with mulch. Now you've built a bed that actually feeds itself from below. But won't this steal nitrogen from my plants? That's a great question, and honestly, it's one many gardeners worry about. When wood first starts breaking down, microbes do use nitrogen. But, because that activity is happening deep in the bed, below the main root zone, it rarely causes problems at the surface where your plants are feeding. Still, in the first season, it's smart to mix compost or well-rotted manure into your topsoil and use mulch. That way, you're giving your plants the best possible start. That ensures your plants have enough available nutrients while the lower layer gets established. By the second and third seasons, the system balances itself and nitrogen tie-up becomes a non-issue. Once this system gets going, you'll notice something. Your need for outside inputs drops. You won't be topping up beds with expensive soil every year, because the lower layer is constantly turning into new organic matter. Plus, you'll use less fertilizer since, microbes and worms are doing the feeding for you. You'll water less because the bed just holds moisture better, making things a whole lot easier. And your plants? Well, they'll reward you with deeper roots, stronger growth, and better resilience during heat or dry spells. That's not magic, that's biology working the way it was designed to. What you should never put in this layer. While we're turning waste into soil, we have to be smart about it. Avoid glossy cardboard, heavily inked paper, treated lumber plywood, or anything that may contain chemicals or glue. Also, skip diseased plant material unless you're confident your composting system gets hot enough to kill pathogens. So, you want to stick to clean, natural, biodegradable materials. If you wouldn't want it breaking down in your vegetable garden, then, honestly, don't bury it there. Long-term soil building you can actually see. Yeah, that's the beauty of this method. The results are visible over time. After a year or two, if you dig gently into the bed, you'll find dark, crumbly material forming where hard sticks once were. You'll see more worms, and the soil will feel softer and just more alive in your hands. Plants growing in these beds often need less babying because their roots tap into a living system, not just a shallow layer of imported soil. You're not just filling a box with dirt, you're creating a mini ecosystem. Perfect for gardeners on a budget. If buying soil has ever limited how much you can grow, this technique is, honestly, a game changer. Instead of paying to dispose of yard waste or, burning it, you turn it into the foundation of future harvests. Every pruning session, every pile of dry stems, and every stack of cardboard becomes potential soil. Your raised beds stop being a one-time purchase and honestly, start becoming soil factories that work quietly year after year. So, here's the bottom line. Stop throwing soil away before it even exists. So many of us toss out the very materials that could be building our garden's future. Twigs, stalks, cardboard, prunings. They might look like trash at first, but underground, they actually become fertility, structure, and life. By adding just this one so-called waste layer to your raised beds, you shift from a system that constantly needs refilling to one that, regenerates itself. That's how you grow more while spending less, and honestly, that's the kind of gardening we love here at Rootshaven Grounds. If this opened your eyes to a new way of building soil, make sure you subscribe to the channel and, hey, share this with a fellow gardener who's tired of buying bags every season. Let's grow smarter, grow richer soil, and turn yesterday's waste into tomorrow's harvest.